Yesterday, Sayadaw spoke about the fourth of the factors of a yogi who is striving for liberation, Padaniyangat yogi, and one who is striving strenuously to gain special Dhamma. And this factor is called Araddha Viriya. Sayadaw started to speak about this yesterday. Of the 5 factors of a yogi who is working strenuously to gain special Dhamma, Araddha Viriya is among the most important. Our work can't be accomplished solely with faith. Only when one applies effort based on one's faith, only when one applies effort to expand the mind, to develop it and strengthen it, only when one can practice with firm determination to keep on going, only then will Viriya, Sati, Samadhi occur. And without these, there won't be knowledge. So our effort is very important. When one has developed this type of Araddha Viriya, strong, strenuous effort, if one basically was dishonest before, if one was a dishonest person, honesty develops, and one will admit one's faults. Sometimes yogis have broken the law before their practice, and they confess to the meditation teacher that they committed a murder or that they stole. And they confess quite openly because they've become honest through the practice. And they admit their faults, and they state that they won't do this sort of thing again. So with this strong Viriya, one no longer has any pretense about qualities one doesn't have, about pretense about either qualities one doesn't have or about hiding faults. One has no maya and no sateya. That's why it's said amayavi asateya. In the Buddhist time, when yogis practiced and developed this type of honesty, they would confess to the Buddha. But nowadays, we need to confess to someone with wisdom. So it is very good in the world when people admit their faults. And if people would do this, the world would be a much better place. Araddha Viriya is the effort to observe the arising object right when it's arising, every time. To overcome laziness, the thick layer of laziness and the other kilesas. And this Araddha Viriya makes our physical, verbal, and mental behavior pure. Because unwholesomeness has no chance to arise. So there's no dirt of the kilesas entering one's mind stream. One's behavior becomes clean and pure, and when one sees this, one becomes happy. It's said, Araddha Viriyo Viharati. The one who has effort, that has gained momentum, whether sitting, standing, lying, walking, no matter what minor action one may be doing, one observes, one applies effort to observe what is happening in that moment without a break. All one's waking hours, one is applying effort to observe the presently arising object. Such a yogi is respectful, meticulous, and has continuity in the practice. And within 1 week, that yogi will see special things in one's practice. A difference will be seen. If in 1 week this special difference has not arisen, then it shows that one lacks. It shows that one is taking things lightly. And if in 2 weeks, this is also the case. If in 3 weeks, then there's really no hope of correcting this person. So it is important not to let this happen. Araddha Viriya. Araddha means developed or produced. So what needs to be produced? Powers or energies. We are producing power, and in Pali these are called bala. One has to produce energy, develop energy, both physical and mental. And if one does this, one's energies will become fulfilled. They'll become well developed. There are 5 or 7 of these mental powers, or bala. First of all, saddha bala, the power of faith and confidence. Second, viriya bala, the power of courage or courageous effort. Sati bala, the power of observation, the power of sati. Samadhi bala, the power of the collected mind, concentration. Panya bala, the power of discerning wisdom. And in addition, there are 2 more. Hiri bala, the power of moral shame. Shame regarding doing wrong. And ottappa bala, the power of moral dread or disgust. One feels disgusted by letting one's physical, verbal, or mental behavior become defiled. These 7 powers don't come for free. We have to exercise in order to develop them. People who are enthusiastic about doing physical exercise usually exercise daily and are very diligent about exercising to develop this or that strength, this or that benefit. And one understands with physical exercise that one needs to do it regularly, daily, and only then, if one does it like this, will one be strong and healthy. So the mind too needs to be developed by exercising like this, and we should kind of use this as an analogy for our work. So let's say we're going to start practice. This is Arambha Dhatu, and we sit down. We put our mind on the abdomen, and the abdomen rises. And then the abdomen falls. So as soon as the abdomen rises, we push the mind so that it reaches that object. And we do it. When it rises, that's one application of effort, of pushing the mind to the object. So this is 1 unit of energy. So one pushes the mind to make our observation stick, to make sati stick with the object. This is producing energy, developing energy. One is putting out energy. When one does this, every time the abdomen rises, applying energy. Every time the abdomen falls, applying energy. When one does this time and again, the mind advances. It doesn't slide back or retreat. The mind becomes brave and courageous. So this is advanced effort. And if when the abdomen rises, we apply effort to get the mind there, that's one application of effort. Again, when the abdomen falls, pushing the mind, applying effort, putting out effort for one more moment. This is what is meant by practice, or exercising the mind. One's energy becomes increased as one keeps on going. One's energy becomes elevated. It keeps the kilesas out. So one makes effort to observe the rising, and the kilesas are kept out. Making effort to observe the falling, and the kilesas are kept out. The energy is becoming increased bit by bit. Every time, second by second, one is applying energy. And so in 1 minute there will be 60 times of putting out energy, putting out effort to observe the object. So in this way, our effort is being accomplished. It's being developed or produced. When the object arises, right at that moment we apply effort. So whatever the object is, the rising, the falling, any other object, whenever an object arises, if we apply the effort to observe the object right at that moment, this is producing energy. And our effort, doing this, our effort becomes elevated. So with this effort, the effort also sinks into one's body. So we do this many times, and doing it again and again, this energy becomes well developed. So it is called Araddha Viriya. Araddha means developed or produced, and Viriya is courageous effort. So these two words put together mean effort, courageous effort that is being produced, courageous effort, elevated courageous effort, or effort that exists in one's being. Later on, this effort becomes complete. It reaches fulfillment. And this stage of effort arises automatically just through applying effort. This is called Paripurna Viriya. Those who don't know the benefit of developing the mind and knowledge, those who don't know the benefit of developing the mind and knowledge time and again, don't think about practice. They just waste their time with sense pleasures. Their mind turns back from thoughts of practice. Such a person is called kusita. And the behavior of someone who is kusita, like this, withdrawing from the practice, backing off, not turning their face towards practice, that person's behavior is called kosajja, the state of being a lazy person. When one doesn't develop energy in a situation that calls for energy, this is tina, sloth. One backs off. One wants to take it easy. And one is afraid that if one does anything, one will lose the comfort that one has. So this is a person who withdraws from making effort. If one does this for a long period, then the mind becomes dull and stunted, and such a person becomes overwhelmed by sloth and torpor, tina and meda. Such a person doesn't want to make effort, not for oneself, for one's family, or for anyone else. Such a person is truly useless. And there's another word in Pali called dandi. Dandi means not applying energy to overcome laziness with regard to mental development and the development of knowledge. So one not wanting to lose one's comfort, one doesn't make effort, and one lets laziness take over. Yogis need to be the opposite of this. They need to be adandi. Sometimes when people encounter difficulties at the start of their practice, or they haven't yet gotten the good taste of the Dhamma, and they run away. And someone ran away today too. But Sayadaw is giving talks to try to encourage the yogis every single day, as much as possible, in accordance with the Buddha. This is his talks are intended to encourage the yogis. Power is something that can't be large all at once. You have to start out small. So one instance of developing energy is not much. But every second it gets stronger and stronger. Every second one applies energy to observe the arising object. And doing this, one is pulling one's mind up so that it doesn't fall down. So pulling it up like this, the mind goes higher and higher. It develops more and more. And then what happens is knowledge starts to develop. One sees the distinction between nama and rupa. One discerns what is physical and what is mental. And one comes to see how these are related as cause and effect in many ways. One comes to see too how these arise and then pass away. They are not satisfactory because of this, and they arise and pass away on their own. Further, one comes to see how their arising and passing away occurs very rapidly. At this stage, one experiences things like seeing light, there's joy, tranquility, and one's effort is no longer ordinary effort. It's Paṇḍitā, Viriya. This is effort that keeps on going up. It won't go down. It won't, it's anosakita. One won't back off, and the effort that one makes with each noting, it just becomes more and more. It doesn't stay at the same level, and it also doesn't decrease. And at that time too, our sati becomes upatita sati. It's firmly established on the object, and it becomes very, very agile. We are able to note whatever arises. And the knowledge that we gain, seeing how things are related as cause and effect in many ways, and how something just now it arose and it's gone. How fleeting, how quickly arising and passing away things are. This becomes very, very clear, very distinct in one's mind. So this happens for one who understands the benefit of making effort in the practice and values the practice. And so when one reaches this stage, one doesn't want to miss a single noting, because one is disgusted that a kusala will come into one's mind stream. So one doesn't want one's work to be destroyed. So one is very vigilant about applying effort to observe the object. Our moral shame and moral fear regarding akusalas, unwholesomeness entering the mind, becomes very, very good. So these are the powers that develop in a special way. And when they do, a yogi won't want to stop practice. A yogi won't want to back off at all. When one has this type of momentum in the practice, one doesn't want even a little bit of a kusala to come in. And what does arise is wholesome consciousness, kusala citta. Many arise for such a yogi. This happens for a yogi who possesses courageous effort to apply, to make the mind observe the arising object. And someone who possesses this courageous effort can be called a hero or a heroine. When one has this heroic effort, one has no concern anymore for being tired or getting sick or anything like that. The only concern one has is not letting kilesas enter the mind. And this is something that the yogi then has a lot of fear of happening. At this time, the knowledge arises in the yogi's mind that this is the right path, to always apply effort to observe the arising object. The yogi knows that because of this, laziness and the other kilesas have not been able to enter the mind. And instead, the kusala citta, the wholesome consciousness, is arising. Seeing this, one's faith increases. One's faith develops, becomes larger and larger. So one knows that the path is correct and the results that one has gained are correct. So this quality, when one's knowledge develops like this, the quality of the Dhamma, of being well preached, svakata, becomes clear in the yogi's mind, because doing the practice has led to these results, which are consistent with what one has practiced. So one's trust in the Dhamma increases. One's faith and confidence becomes brighter, clearer. It increases more and more. And in addition to this, one is applying aiming to observe, so that the mind is accurate in observing the object. This is vitakka. And there is also vichara, of the mind being concurrent with the object, as though rubbing against the object. So this factor of vichara overcomes doubt. So the mind is very, very clear about what has happened, because there is no wavering at all. These vitakka and vichara are jhanic factors, so they bring one a lot of focus. So one becomes very satisfied with what one is doing. And it's as though the bhavana mind, this developed mind, is just occurring one after another after another. It's like they line up. And because they're lined up like this, the bhavana mind is occurring in a long line, one after another, there's no place for the unwholesome mind, akusala, to arise. So the strength that one has at this point, one's effort at this point is very, very strong. So it's said that one possesses strong, staunch effort, tamava. And it's also, the yogi at this point is described as dhala parakama. That means that they have determined effort. And also, aneketa duro. The yogi realizes, this is my work. Doing this practice is my most important task. So there's, the yogi has no thought of putting down the burden, of putting down one's task of doing the practice. So no one needs to tell the yogis these things at this stage in the practice. This is what arises in the yogi's mind. And this is mental development. So effort is being made both on a physical and a mental level. There's both kayika viriya, effort based in the body, and cetasika viriya, effort based in the mind. And when both of these are good, both of these become very good. So the yogi, because of this, the yogi just keeps on going. And from here, the yogi keeps on going to reach the goal. So as the time is up today, Sayadaw will speak about this tomorrow night. That's all for today. Sadhu, sadhu.